studies have shown, and that we're really working on now, is we bring it up. A lot of people don't like to bring up suicide. They don't like to ask the question, have you ever thought about killing yourself? And it's rough, and nobody wants to talk about that. They want to talk about wins, they want to talk about skills, they want to talk about grades, they want to talk about girlfriends, eating, sleeping. They don't want to talk about suicide, and because it's hard, and they don't know how. They don't know how to bring it up. They don't know what to say. And so when we're doing this BMA's project, know that if you bring it up, you have a much better chance of saving somebody's life, because they won't bring it up. You've got to bring it up. So you see a kid that's moping in the corner, obviously the first thing you're not going to say is, hey, you thinking about killing yourself? They'll be like, the hell? No, I'm not, I'm hungry, you know, my girlfriend just dropped me, whatever it is, you know. But you will see kids over a period of time, for lack of a better word, start to fade out. They'll fade out emotionally. They'll fade out in school. They'll fade out in relationships. They'll quit hanging out with their friends. You know, a big thing is they'll start to give away stuff. You know, hey, here's my Wilson A2K. Like, you're gonna give me your A2K? You're gonna give me that Xeno bat? Like, no way. You would never give that away. Big red flag. You know, they're thinking about making the next step. You know, when we talk about talking to kids, it doesn't have to start with, you know, the suicide talk, but the more you get them engaged in talking about what's going on, you know, that's the first step. That is the first step in getting to somebody and hopefully getting them out of the funk that they're in. They might be in a funk for a lot of different reasons. You know, it might be puberty, it might be their folks. Bob said earlier, you know, divorce is a bitch. It's hard on kids. There's never been one kid that said, I really am a big fan of that divorce my folks had. So that can be a real, and if you don't know it, they might show signs. You might ask them, you know, how are things at home? Things all right at home? You know, how are your folks doing? You know, and they might be, they're not going to tell their friends a whole lot of that stuff, but they might tell their coach, they might tell their mentor, you know, they might tell somebody they trust. It's all about trust. They're not going to tell somebody they don't trust, because it might turn back on them, you know. But the more you talk to kids, the more you find out what's going on. I know the one kid that didn't get into the Naval Academy, great kid, real smart, driven, perfectionism, boom. Didn't get in, took his dad's gun and shot himself. He never talked about suicide, not once. And they never saw it coming. And a lot of people who are around loved ones that do commit suicide, they will always tell you the same thing. We never saw it coming. We never mentioned it. But if they would have maybe said something, if they would have asked, you know, are you thinking about doing something? You know, we don't want you to commit suicide. Let's bring it up. We don't want you to commit suicide. Are you thinking about suicide? Do you wish you would be better off dead? You know, that's sometimes a way of around, you know, saying that, you know, because people don't want to say the S word, you know. Do you feel like you're a burden to others? You know, some kids feel like they're a burden to their parents. You know, school costs a lot of money. You know, clothes cost money, food costs money, travel costs money. I'm a burden. You know, you guys are struggling. I'm a burden. Boom, I can ease your burden. You know, so. My main message is make sure that we talk. We talk to our kids. You talk to your friends. This may not just be about, you know, kids. This may not be about athletes. This may be about your neighbor. This may be about, you know, your niece or your nephew. I do it because I might be saving a life. I don't know, you know. But I do know that every call that I've taken has made a difference in that person's life because they didn't know where else to turn. A lot of people don't know where to turn. And that's why we have the 988 number. That's why we're doing this project. You know, what do you do when somebody's in trouble? A lot of people don't know.
He said, if you aren't there for them as an advocate, they're lost. And believe me, he's right. You have to fight for them every step of the way.
Yeah.
He said something else too, and that is if you help a person through that moment of crisis, then they can go forward from there.
Right, a lot of times it's that moment of crisis, it's that one moment, you know, it's that one time. Studies have shown that people that are serious about suicide, that period is a very short period. It might be an hour, it might be 3 hours, it might be 30 minutes. But if you can get them through that moment, okay, and you can get them to that next step, it's kind of like giving them air in their tires. Now they can drive a little bit further, you know, and it just takes a little bit of that, you know, crisis intervention, just somebody to talk to, just somebody, you know, to say, hey, I'm here, I'm here to listen. I mentioned that you'll probably have to sit in the ER for anywhere to 9 hours to 3 days. Had a guy last week stayed there 3 days.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are there any forms from what we do to standardize everything here that you would almost add as like a baseline to all of our people? Like a PHQ, anything like that, to have all of our teams, considering I'm the athletic trainer on staff here, for me to add into their file, anything like that, as I'm normally their first point of contact?
Okay, so you know what the PHQ-9 is then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I know
okay.
a lot of the forms.
So you know about the Columbia suicide scale?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
and
one of
that's
the
why
ones
I'm
we use.
asking you of like, hey, is that something I can add into these guys' form to introduce that to these coaches and say, hey, this should be a great entry-level baseline, and then, hey, if they're starting to pick up on something, let me then send them this form again. We're noticing a big drastic change. Let's hotline them or anything like that as well.
Right.
Boom. And then we're jumping it, and then I can actually create a mental health emergency action plan, and then we can actually have a great plan in place for us here.
Yeah, exactly. The PHQ-9 is good. The CSS is good. You know, we have when we identify somebody that has vocalized some suicidality, some suicidal ideations, we have them on an enhanced care pathway.
Okay.
And that enhanced care pathway involves, you know, an increase in support, so it's more than one support. Okay, so not only are you seeing a psychiatrist, but you got a counselor. You might have a case manager, you know, and you might have somebody from healthcare home. So the enhanced care pathway increases your support system. You know, that's one of the major things, is to increase your support system. Two, everybody in that support system is required to go over the Columbia scale with them each time.
Okay.
You know, so here we go again. We're asking
Talk a
the
little bit
question.
about Columbia scale watching time, but there are people in the room that probably don't know what that is, I'm guessing.
It's basically it's a questionnaire. You know, I think it's 6 questions. You know, are you currently thinking about suicide? Have you thought about suicide in the last 3 weeks? You know, do you wish you
And can
do
lay
you
people
feel
use
you're better
it? To sound based what you're saying, can lay people use it?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, anybody can use it. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, and they talk about, you know, do you feel suicidal now? Have you felt suicidal in the past? Do you feel like you felt this way in the last 30 days, the last 6 months, the last year, kind of a thing? You know, and that'll sometimes give you an idea as to where they are on the suicidality.
Visit thebmsproject.org to learn more. Together, here for our youth.